for a what's up with Nora? Ooh, what's up with that? Ooh, what's up with Nora? Ooh, what's up with that? I said what's up? I said what is up with that? I said what is up with Nora? Ooh,
Let's fucking go. Let's go. I guess.
Hello, everybody. Hello. I've just spent all this time getting ready, and then I'm not ready at all. There. Like, good grief, Nora. What is I'm going to be honest with you guys. Today has been 55 days. Yeah, it's been a lot. I was dealing with some stuff, literally on my couch in my room, crying with my wife about other things, because it's just the most lesbian thing to do, is just cry with your wife. And then I got an email this morning letting me know that Cece had passed. And of course I called Jane immediately, and we spoke for quite a while. And then I started calling basically all of the people, and wanted to tell them personally what had happened. Because Cece was a very special person, as some of you may or may not know. Many moons ago, 30 years ago, actually, I was married to Cece's son, Jeremy, and she became my very first mother-in-law. And from that point forward, in 1995, when I married Jeremy, even though our marriage didn't last and got annulled later, she never stopped loving me, never stopped being connected to me. Even after I left the Sea Org, she was one of the very first people to reach out to me after she had, left the Sea Org herself. And that love and care from her continued for 30 years, because that's the kind of person she was. I spoke to her 2 days ago, and from the hospital, and we were talking about what she was going to do when she got out of the hospital. I mean, she was so unbelievably joyous and alive. And then she was gone. It was so sudden. I have a lot of very special guests here with me, and some more coming in, who all want to share love about Cece as well. I just want to bring up, if the mods are dropping it in the chat, and we'll be checking on this throughout. If you guys can give anything at all, or just share some stories or things about Cece in the chat, that's fine. But there is oh, hi, that's not Nora. This is how discombobulated I am. All right. So this is Cece's GoFundMe. This is just the back end dashboard. I did set it up. The funds are not going to me. They are going to her partner, David. Okay. And I'll be refreshing this throughout the night. Thank you to those of you who have donated so far. We're already getting donations in. I really, really appreciate that. I just set it up because, having gone through death myself, I know how overwhelming this is. And anybody who can take a piece of the pie from someone and do something, it's beyond helpful. So tonight, this is my contribution by helping to raise any amount of money we can tonight. And let me bring up all of the beautiful people that we have to pay tribute to Cece tonight. So, of course, we have Serge, Liz Ferris, Michael, and of course Miriam Francis. I'll let you guys. Who wants to start tonight? Who would like to start?
I would love to jump in.
Michael's doing it.
I would I got an email from one of our wonderful people that follow us, and they introduced me to Cece, and they're like, Michael, there's this woman that's come across our platform that we want you to get to know, and we don't know which direction to go in or what we should do, but we think you would be great to have a conversation with her. And I remember, so I reached out to her and we talked, and she was in her yard with her pond in the background with no, I don't think she had water in her pond, but she was still futzing with her pond and futzing with her yard. And she was just really eager to talk to somebody. And so we started talking, and, you know, we're here about No More Kids in Scientology. And that's our mission, is really just to kind of bring that awareness. And she hadn't spoke to somebody in a long time to really, she had a really close friend, I believe, that she was able to share this with, but, you know, there was times that, you know, she just kept a lot of things to herself, she was telling me. And she's like, she goes, I don't know what to do. I go, well, what do you want to do? And she goes, well, you know, a lot of these kids I see on YouTube are, they're like my little kids. I watched a lot of them in daycare. I was part of daycare, and there's so many kids that I wish I even knew where they were today, you know, because I just missed that time with them. And it was just really beautiful how she was just reminiscing about that time with the kids. And she goes, but then I come across this conflict with myself. I said, well, what's going on? She goes, well, you know, there was so much going on, and we were all looking the other way. And I feel that I'm part of it, and I don't know how much I'm part of it or what part of it I am part of. But, you know, I want to turn myself in. I want to bring this to the government's view. She goes, you guys are out there fighting. I'm witness. She goes, I don't care if I get locked up. I haven't spoken to my husband about this yet. And, you know, this is what I want to do. I don't know which direction to go to. So we had a long, long conversation about, you know, what she remembered, what she was going through, and just all these feelings. And one of the things that we kind of came up with early on was, you know, become a state witness. Instead of turn yourself in a state witness, be a whistleblower. We talked about that a little bit, but then she really wanted to come on alive and all that. And we all kind of like pointed to Nora because of Nora's relationship with her. And we only felt that was right to give Nora that opportunity to have that conversation with her. And you did. And it was really beautiful that she, you know, and many more, you know. And it's just like, and when I remember that, you know, we were at a bar here in LA that Serge and Laura was singing at, and she popped up and showed up at the last minute, and there she was, and I got to meet her in person, and we got to embrace each other and hug each other, and we sat next to each other for a while, and we just shared stories. She introduced me to her husband and her partner, and it was just really a beautiful moment just to see this big circle, because she was able to see these kids that, you know, some that she used to watch when she was, you know, when she was younger, and they were much younger. And here, you know, the circle of life, here we are all on this journey, and here she found herself back in the presence of these people that, you know, she felt like somehow she may not have done the best by them, but with the grace of these kids, I call you guys, open arms. You know, the love, the compassion, and the beauty that came out from everybody after hearing her story and, you know, hearing where she was coming from. It was just so beautiful. So I just, when I got the message that she was in the hospital the other day, I've been thinking of maybe going out to visit her, but I don't have time to do that now, but that's okay. It's like she's with us. And when I got that she passed, it was a little, it hurt, but, at least I know that, with her coming to us and having these conversations with all of us, that wherever she is, she had integrity to the last minute and saying, I did something wrong and I don't know what I did wrong or how I was part of it, but I was part of it, and I just want to come clean. And so I just think that just to have that integrity and that willingness to come clean and say, and the fact that she was willing to go behind bars for the last years of her life. And it was truly, she was just showed such an inner strength, and she was always so happy and so, so cheerful when we got to visit with each other. And it's just so, she will be missed, but she will be remembered so deeply with us all. And so I just wanted to open up and share with that, you guys.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to
second what Michael said, because when he said to me one day, it's like, there's this parent that I've been talking to, a parent of Scientology that I've been talking to, that is really talking to me about a lot of things. And it was when he started getting into the information and he started sharing to me who Cece was, because I had never known her, nor I didn't even, I mean, I knew the son, I believe, didn't he go to Flag for Services? The
No,
son? Or no?
no, no,
Not Jeremy? Oh, not the Jeremy.
no.
Okay.
He was the Mimeo officer at the HGB. He
Oh,
printed all of the stuff we were studying. That was his job. Yeah.
hearing your interview later with her, and then seeing the way that she was so forthcoming, and as Michael mentioned, in that time that she came and saw Lara and I perform, and then she connected with us, and in such a real, honest, raw, vulnerable way.
Yeah.
And it really, to me, is the opening. It's all it takes. It's all it takes is for someone else to say, oh, look, she did it. I can do it too. I can be honest. I can own up. I can take accountability. And that's what we've been campaigning for, right? For all of this of last year, the amount of accountability. Kids cannot consent. Everything we were subjected to as kids, it was all things we could not consent to.
Mm-hmm.
We have had that reckoning, and to have someone step up and say, yes, the reckoning is here. Yes, I acknowledge the pain that we caused. And you know, that's all that is needed in order for us to move into a place of actually dealing with this cycle of abuse that has just been allowed to continue. Because we need more CCs. We need more people to understand what's being denounced, understand the magnitude of it, and to have somebody like her just own it is it's really actually beautiful, because I'm so glad she can go leave this earth with that acknowledgement. She came up straight up to me, straight up to Laura, and had such an intimate conversation with me. And I could see how much it meant to be seen and acknowledged, even on the other side, because she understood that, she's like, Serge, you've been speaking to me, I know. And I did resent you a lot at the beginning. It's like I was always getting so angry at your lives. And she was telling me, she was yelling and screaming. But she's like, but soon enough, I started understanding it. And she started like not making it about her, right? Because this is not a personal campaign. As much as gets projected that it really isn't. So, to have someone like Cece that led that way, it's already like a step in the right direction. So I just wrote a little note for Cece that I'd like to read out.
Yes, please do.
For Cece, some departures come too soon, though time was never a measure of impact. Cece saw what was hidden, named what was unspeakable, and in doing so, shifted what was once feeling a break in the pattern, a voice where silence had rule. She carried truth not as a burden, but as an offering. In the space she left behind, there is something new, a crack where light gets in, a ripple that does not end. Gone too soon, but not without changing the current, not without being heard, and not without mattering.
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
That was
You know, I
Absolutely.
want to say,
gorgeous.
I would like to share something really quick on what you said, Serge, is because I've talked, not being in Scientology and being around all of you and learning what you guys have gone through and the years of, unchildlike behavior that you had to be held to. Um, I've spoken to a lot of second, gens or people of Cece's generation, and she was the first one out of everyone that I've spoken to that was being honest and truthful and saying, wow, what did I miss? How did I miss it? Why was I a part of it? I've heard so many times like, oh, what? That didn't happen. What are you talking about? And it's just kind of like, it just showed how willing she was to take away her ego, strip herself of any identity that she could have had formed inside of Scientology, and actually be one with herself to be able to say, this is making things right. For right now, I'm going to do what's right for the kids, for myself, for everybody, just to say I was part of it. And like Serge said it, that's all you guys need to hear sometimes, is like someone taking responsibility, saying, wow, I was there, I saw it.
Yeah.
What can I do?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And just for you guys in the chat, I'm bringing up your comments while we're all talking here, because I want everybody to get a chance. I know that Michael, Serge, and Liz have to not be here for the whole stream. But I just want to, I'm going to keep just for the audience and for you guys, I'm going to keep putting comments up as we scroll along here. So everybody's, really loving tributes and everything. Keep coming up. And Liz, I know you got to study, honey. So what did you want to say about Cece?
I honestly wanted to say the first time I went protesting, I was nervous, and this lady was, just kept looking around the corner, hoping someone else was showing up. And I remember thinking, like are you a plant? Like, I just need to know, because you care more about who's coming around the corner than anything. And then this sweet little old lady was like, is Nora coming? And I'm like, no, and unfortunately she's not. But I'd be happy to get her a message. And oh, no, I know her. I was her mother-in-law. My name's Cece, and she just introduced me. You need to tell Nora that Cece said hi. And so later that day, I called and I let you know that what she had said. And then of course I had to, next time I saw her, I had to be like, okay, I let Nora know. And okay, good. And she lit up like a crayon. Like she had this demeanor about her, like she knew what we'd gone through, but she still found a way to bring a smile.
Yeah. Yeah. Always. Yeah. I want to, do you want to go, Miriam? You have something to say about Cece?
Yeah. And I think there's a little bit of delay on my feed, so
take your time.
No, you sound fine.
Okay.
It's not coming across.
So I guess this feels like really there's a lot of like complicated feelings, I want to say, with like the history and the context of a Scientology parent. So a bit of background on Cece is that she was a child who grew up in the Alaskan wilderness. She loved hiking with her father. She had a very loving relationship with both of her parents, and particularly a close relationship with her father. They would go on fishing trips like every Friday, end of the week, get out on the boat. And, he taught her all those survival skills. I was very fortunate, along with Ree, that we got to do a lengthy interview with her that I then cut up into parts. So I got to learn a lot about the details of her story, like also after watching that with you, Nora. And the thing is that I'd known Cece for quite a while, because when I was a kid growing up, I grew up with her kids. I grew up with 3 of her kids, because Jeremy, the one that you married, was a bit older, so was not. I mean, I'd seen him around, but it was the 3 younger girls, particularly the 2 youngest that I grew up with, and in fact, one of her daughters, like, I joined the Sea Org with. So I was really sort of around and I was in the Sea Org with her daughter for like 4 years. So yeah, so and Cece I always saw around, and I'd been in her living spaces and as a kid along with her daughter and stuff like that. So I The cool thing is that her demeanor, like the way that she is, kind of never changed. Like she was always that kind of cheerful spirit, and she was always, very strong. I think physically strong. And she did, like in the interview that when we were chatting, she did really pride herself on that like survivor ability to just like, push through anything and be really like, just a soldier on. And really not to expect. I mean, she was undereducated. Education was not a priority, and she never expected any kind of luxury in her life. So the Sea Org lifestyle was kind of like not too much of a shock to her, I guess. But the thing is that, and she was okay with sacrificing and depriving herself and all those sorts of things. But where it gets complicated is where you have children, and she did have, in fact, she had 5 kids
Yeah.
in the Sea Org. Yeah, that
which
she
is
brought to in.
insane. But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, giving
Yeah.
birth 5 times while in the Sea Org, and most of those, I don't think any of those were in a hospital. So
No, and so that was
Yeah.
one of the things that we spoke about, was that like she was essentially giving birth between musters. Like this person
Yeah.
was like pulling this baby out of her, but then she was off to this muster, and like and so yeah, and it's like when you have babies and children in that environment, and then they just immediately putting them into this facility that wasn't caring for them and that was understaffed, and where the priority in the way that the children were talked about, they were talked about as assets. So you're in an environment that doesn't even look at these babies and children like they are babies and children. It's just like a growth factory to where you can get to an age where you're capable to carry the load. And that would, as soon as you were capable, you were assigned that burden. And so that's why I say it's complicated, because I see in her story, this great survivor and someone with so much strength, and beauty and heart. And it's just that where it gets complicated is the damage that it does to children. But because children can't thrive in that environment, and it's damaging and it's abusive. It literally is child abuse, because you can make a martyr of yourself, but you can't make a martyr of your children. That's not your choice to make, ever. So but I do understand that she had this whole big journey where she was working things out for herself over time, and it took her a long time. Eventually she got there, and then she began to turn her attention to the story of the kids. And I really appreciate her having spent that time, because I know it was gradual. It was over a long period of time. I know she was reaching out, even like over the last few years, like commenting on things, and she was really observing and wanting to understand what had happened. And so I really appreciate that with her. And I said to her after the interview, she healed a wound in me, that I was able to sit and talk with her, because there is that child wound that you carry, of neglect by a parent. And the fact that she was able to listen, and and was willing to hear what the issues were and what we had experienced and what her
Yeah.
own children had experienced, that was really important for me. And that was something that I never experienced for my own mother. So I'm so appreciative of her, and that's the gift that she gave me. So like I will always remember that. And so I just want to express like my gratitude to her on a personal level. And she just just her energy and her beauty. And yeah, so she's definitely going to be remembered forever. And we just appreciate, I appreciate everything that she did and what she tried to do. And yeah, so she'll be
No, and I
missed.
appreciate that you brought up the complexity of the situation, Miriam, because I mean, again, these subjects are, really for adults only, right? It's like it now becomes us having to compartmentalize so much information and acknowledge so many things of the facts that need to be understood. And that's all there is going forward. We're not getting a second childhood. We're not getting our years back. We're not getting anything. The only thing we can do is
Yeah.
compartmentalize, hold space, demand the accountability, understand that, again, we're advocating for every single person, every single last person that has been seduced into this disgusting machine of
Mhm.
complete insanity that is a clear and present danger to anyone that becomes attached to it. So I love that you just brought that back of the complexity of what we're having to understand all together, but we do want to move forward. So what we do need the accountability, and we need to show that these parents that there's a lot of light to embrace if you actually step forward and just acknowledge it, embrace it, see it as she saw it. And it is going to be a reckoning, and it is going to cost you a lot, and you're going to, gonna go through a lot, but at least you'll be getting the truth, and the truth is always the medicine.
Yeah,
It is. And
absolutely.
I'm gonna jump at Miriam. I do want to say it was so beautiful that you said like there was a part of you that she helped. At the end, she was like, there was that one little part that actually helped, and that's what it. And those little baby helps is part of the baby steps that we have to take in these processes to become healed or get closer to wellness. Mental wellness is what I always say. So with that said, I just want to say, ladies, gentlemen, everybody in the room, I love you all. Thank you for allowing me to be here and share my time with you. And I will, I'll be following you guys afterwards. Okay.
All right. Love you,
Have a
Michael.
good night.
Thank you.
All right. Love you guys.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you
Bye,
so
Miriam.
much.
Are you taking
Well,
off too?
I
Okay.
think I'm
Are you
gonna
taking off too,
I'm
Liz?
gonna
Go
follow
study.
in his lead. Laura, love you. Serge, Miriam,
Thank you,
Nort,
Liz.
rock on.
Love
I
you
will talk to you
guys.
guys later.
Love
Are you
you
Bye.
staying,
guys.
Serge, or are you leaving?
I'm staying a little more.
Okay, you're staying a little more. Laura FM in the house.
Hi.
Let's hear from you, my friend. What would you like to share about Miss Cecilia, Miss Cece?
Oh man, I was thinking about it today. I was out, at work by the beach, and I wanted to do like a sunset, waves, whatever thing, and I just was like, I felt myself feeling like deeply sad about
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
and partially because there was so much that we still had to do, like me and Cece, and I had just
Yes.
called her, and then it just, the thing that hit me like when I first heard it was, I know she wanted to do so much more, and I felt like as kids, like, God, this is so much harder than I thought. As kids, I thought that, like, oh my God, we have somebody who
Yeah.
finally understands it. And not only that, but like I had already had such like hard conversations with her
Yeah.
out in the desert. And I would go visit her, and we'd have our beers, and she'd get mad at me, and we'd be mad at each other, like, well, no, well, that's not. And I'm like, but look at it from my viewpoint, like still using Scientology terms. And
Yeah.
like, I'm like, you're still thinking like, and she's like, well, how are you going to blame me? Like, and I'm like, I'm not trying to, I'm just trying to make you aware of, like, we had such deep struggles, and now I appreciate it so much.
Yeah.
That, I just felt like our hope went away a little bit. Like somebody who was being an adult, and like really who was there through all of it. Who was like willing, obviously, to turn herself in and all this, and like give the details and things that she thought were just normal in the early years of all this. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and for
anyways,
those of you
yeah.
guys who don't know, and hadn't had a chance to watch the interviews that both myself and Miriam did with Cece, she is the first and only Scientology parent who has ever, first of all, listened to any of us second gens about anything and like let us get these big feelings. And she wasn't any of our parent, right? But she allowed us that space to disagree with her, and instead of just pushing back on us, number one, in these one-on-one conversations, she really took it to heart, because she was like, wait a minute, what did I miss? I thought, like, she had thoughts about, like, my kids are being cared for. Like, that's what they're telling me. They're telling me there's a nanny. They're telling me, and she was so dedicated to Elron and these other things that she thought, of course it's going to be okay, because, you know, I'm part of something that's really good. And she started reflecting on her own life and started realizing the tiny little things that she had missed in her own kids, like behavior, demeanor, the things that they were trying to bring to her. And through that, because a lot of, you know, some of her kids are still Scientologists, and so they don't even communicate with her because she left Scientology. And she realized, I have to speak up, because I was one of those people who, like Laura's parents, like Miriam's parents, like Serge's parents, I hurt my children. I did this. Like, I'm and I'm at the point in my life where, like, if she's, and she said this in my interview with her, if I go to jail, then I go to jail, because what I did was a crime. And I think for all of, I'm just going to speak for all of us kids born into Scientology collectively, to have any one parent say out loud that the things we went through were criminal and I did that, was so enormous. And she knew she wasn't taking responsibility for every single parent's parenting or non-parenting of their children, but she wrote down in words every single violation of every single law she could find. Like, she became like a legal scholar to figure out all of the things that she had personally done that were against the law, and like basically wrote that up for law enforcement. No one else has done that. No other parent has done that ever. But go ahead. And I just wanted to remind the audience, like, this is, you know, it's an enormous, enormous deal.
And everything she was talking about, like the RPF, and then her, you know, how many times she got in trouble for things on the ship, and or at the orgs, just like how Biddy or whoever it was, like, specifically told her, like, oh, you don't want, I'm so sorry, I've cried with her so much about this, and I'm remembering those conversations. Hi, Blow Drill.
Guys, that's Dylan,
Hey, Dylan.
aka Blow Drill, on the screen here in the middle with us.
He's like, Laura's crying, I better step in. But
It's time.
Like, I just remembered how many, like, really deep conversations that I could never even have with my own mom, like my own dad, and how much she even said, like, when she left the Sea Org. This is what upsets me too. It's made so much sense, and it just clarified things so much, that when she left the Sea Org, she went into this whole alcohol, you know, spin. And I couldn't believe she was being so honest and, like, telling me all these things. And she's like, yeah, I'm not going to repeat, but she just used to do these things and like, would tell me these stories because she fucking just could. Because I would be like, what? No way. Like, and I realized, like, now that she was telling me these things, it was giving me strength. Like, oh. So I kind of, like, that validates all the fucking shit that I've been through. And, like,
yeah.
And that took a minute. That took a long time. I had went and visited her. I was like a little desert lizard for like 3 years, and I was just like out in the desert all the time. So I would go like, okay, I'm coming over, and I'd randomly come over and text her, and she would love it. And I'd talk to her for an hour, and sometimes I'd stay for 8 hours. And, you know, it was just like, so like, it was just amazing. She had talked about this pillow between us, like how, like, she kept wanting to understand what I was talking about. She kept wanting to, like, in her words, acknowledge me and, like, fully, you know, I forget what the word is, but it's some Scientology word, surge.
We acknowledge your bypass charge.
And
Yeah, like exactly. She wanted to. There was something that she used a Scientology term, and that's when I said, look, even that. And I obviously should have been whatever, should have, would have, could have. It actually ended up being just fine in the end. But I think I'm a little frozen, but I hope it's just me.
No, you're good.
Okay.
you're good. Yeah.
And
Laura, was
so
it as is? Was the word as is?
I think it was. It was yes. It was
Yeah.
something. Yeah. It was one of those disgusting words.
Yeah.
But she was like
because
trying to say I'm trying to as is it or something. Yeah. What is it when you erase an engram?
as is,
As
yeah.
is. As is.
As
Yeah.
is. Okay, so maybe that's what it is. As
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was
Well-
like, so that I can be clear on it and clean. And I said, I don't know what I said. I think I was just like upset. Like, I think I was like, well, would you do that to your children? And she was like, well, my children, and they're in the Sea Org and they like it. And I was kind of like, okay, well, that's not a good example. Like, she could tell that I was trying to figure out a way without arguing with her anymore or like being too hard about it.
Can I make an
Yeah.
observation though, Laura? And I think that this goes to really understanding the language, right? Because the language is what keeps them in that delusional state, right? Like
Right.
even the fact that she reached for that word, it's like, you guys, you cross boundaries, you cross lines that there is no going back. There is no floating it away. There is no erasing it. Like the hurt has been caused, and there is no way to make anyone comfortable about it because it's not comfortable. It's a crime. It's a horrific act of malice. We go back to Cece. It's like she had 5 kids in a place where it was not suitable for kids.
No.
And they were there. They observed it. They watched it. They were okay with it. It sucks that they were okay with it. It sucks that they, whatever it is that they're there for. But it's like, it's the fact that they expose these kids to these conditions that's the point that we're going to, right? And that's where the advocacy is needed for the kids, because it's like, who's exposing them to that? And again, it's like the parents are so right about what they're doing that even in the aftermath of it all, they're just so pressed to be like, well, how can we assist it? How can we? There is no assisting anything. Like there's you finding out and you actually, like what they used to tell us at the hotel, go make amends, go deliver an effective blow, go
Right.
come clean, go get your ethics in. It's like, you know what? The same program you were running at the hotel, do it at the police. And actually, Cece
Yeah.
did get the memo because she did it. Like, she's like, oh, yeah, great idea. Here's the law. Here's what I did wrong. Let me write it down. Oh, let me recall it. Time, place, form, and event. Let me put all of this together so that I really come forward and I can clean that out of my space. Because yes, was this all done under her own volition? I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, but it's a very complicated situation that unfortunately always leaves the kids exposed to clear and present danger. And that's why it cannot be like the delusion cannot be tolerated anymore. Like, it has to be popped. The facts need to be exposed for what they are, and everyone has to deal with the facts.
Yeah, and like when she was talking about the she was telling me, she was saying some conversation about that she was having with one of the other Sea Org members at the beginning, and it was about the children, and she was going like fuck no, they're not gonna go in that, the fucking carpet is coming up or something. Like, she was saying there's fucking the paint is chipping.
Yeah.
And fucking like even that, I just like don't. I never, ever, ever heard my mom or dad ever question anything about the property of the ranch.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, not even once. So it's just like the little things that she was realizing, oh, these cadets were, some of us mothers, not me, but she was saying some of us mothers have the opportunity as ex-Sea Org Scientologists to be able to now that have kids or that have kids even in the Sea Org but aren't now, they're able to, like, they have to be able to come out and adjust their minds and try to understand the concept. If somebody can't even understand the concept of what we're talking about, then you're in denial. Like, that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
And I think there's so little of that, literally, of the parents doing that. And yeah, it's going to be stuck in our hearts. We're craving for parents, not even our own, just parents, to come out and say this absolutely happens all the time.
Yeah.
TRs, it starts with the TRs. Oh, how young? As little as 5, as little as 6. So they do the little child comm course, and then it goes on, and that's the beginning of Scientology. So it's not just like, oh well, kids can do it later. No, that means then they cannot touch L. Ron Hubbard's literature or anything connected to his methods. Then, even in a household, it should be like looking at porn. Period. Because that's what it does. It changes the mind of a child so much that it took Cece Smith to like break down on me and me to break down on her. We were both bawling our eyes out at each other, like trying to hold the conversation, like knowing we both cared, but that we were both deeply upset. And she was like, well, what can I do to fix it? And I just kept telling her, just listen. Like, we've never been able to say this.
Yeah.
Like, it's been the big elephant in the room for our whole lifetime. And so pardon us if this whole year, or maybe the last 2 years, has been the most we've all been ever talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Laura, like we've said it, we haven't had someone say, I heard you. You know, we haven't had a parent say, okay, I hear you. Or, okay, I'm willing to listen to you, you know?
Or somebody who said, I cried so hard every time I hear your music.
Yeah.
Because all my music is quite painful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then showing up to the shows and just being like in tears, but in joy, and her words and everything that was coming out of her mouth was just so loving and like full of like understanding. Like she just was like, this, you guys are magical and I'm so sorry. And she just like, she was like a whole different person, just totally full of love and like, I'm cleaning this up and oh my God, this feels so good.
Yeah. Dylan's here now. Hi, Dylan.
Hey, Dylan.
You have the floor. Hi.
Yeah, I couldn't get any of my crap to work, so I'm just kind of on my laptop.
You're good. You look beautiful, and we can hear you fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can hear me?
Yes. Yes.
All right. We're talking about Cece, right?
Yes.
Well, I loved Cece a lot. She was a really, really good friend of mine. And I knew her for about 30 years. And anytime I could help her, I did. Anytime. Whether it was texting, whether it was going to see her. She was and will always be a real person. and whatever choices she made, I absolutely accept. You know, I don't have a right to judge anyone about how they live their life. I can only really accept them for where they are and where they were. And well, y'all have been sitting there talking. I've been looking through text messages with her for the last 14 years, I think. And
do you have some words of wisdom from Cece? After you're done, I have the last. Mona's not here on the screen, but I have the last email that she sent Mona, and it's very inspirational. But I want you to read your.
Yeah, I mean, from Cece reached. She was trying to take extension classes. She was absolutely willing to take accountability for her actions in the most healthy, loving, and accepting way she possibly could.
Yeah.
I think the thing that stands out for me is she survived. She has a granddaughter and she shared a meme of her dancing and she was so proud. And she had to bury a few of her own children.
Yeah.
And
Even just recently.
Even just recently.
Yeah.
Very recently. And she told me about the biopsy and she was looking at getting out. And I texted with her this week. I texted her this morning a bunch of stuff to get her opinion on it, and I didn't hear back. And I thought that was, I don't know, it felt off. It didn't feel like normal, us not talking to each other. And then I got a phone call, and before they could even say anything, I was like, "Don't say it's about Cece, please." So I've been trying to process, and the hard thing about becoming a survivor, and the hard thing about living through pain is once you become vulnerable, you kind of have to continue to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. I don't care. Like, judge me. True crime people, look at me. I'm the clown behind the glass. We are the clown behind the glass. This is us surviving. This is us living. And this is us doing what we can to heal.
Yeah.
And I, for one, am going to keep surviving and supporting and living and loving with all of you. And I'm going to honor the people that we've now had to leave behind and that have left us. And I'm going to try to educate the people that are still indoctrinated and hope that they too someday can be vulnerable and be survivors. And yeah, I don't know. I love Cece a lot. And I feel very selfish right now, but I want to just love and flow power to everything she cared about. So
yeah,
yeah, that's about it.
We talked about you a lot, Dylan. She always say like tell me about the RV and like that, like all kinds of things. And again, it's just that thing, like we're all like trying to like talk to this person and just talk to this person and talk to this person and like oh, interesting, this, like it's like we're all just searching for like
to put the puzzle pieces together and rebuild. And I think Cece was definitely a part of that because she gave us some of those puzzle pieces for sure. And I remember saying to Ree, like before leading up, I was really dreading, kind of in a way. Cece and I had a really lengthy phone conversation, which was really, really enjoyable. And she was just like so lovely. And I said I wanted to do an interview with her. And after that, like just sort of leading up to it, I started to kind of really dread the idea of doing it because I knew that I needed to ask some really hard questions. And I said to Ree, who did it with us, and I said like, like I'm gonna need your help through it because I think it's gonna be. I said it's gonna be really dark, and she said, well, "What do you mean by dark?" And I said, I think it's going to be really painful. And it was, but what absolutely surprised me at the end was how healing it was. Like what that gave back to me, like that my mother couldn't give me, that my mother refused to, and that my mother didn't do it. Like I really feel like that's what Cece gave, was like being a mother myself. When my babies were babies and toddlers, like you hold them to your bosom, you hold them to your chest, and that's a biological instinct, and that you know, and that they'll put their head on your chest as a toddler, you know what I mean, or as a baby. It's just, it's instinctual. And I didn't have much of that with my own mother, and I
Mhm.
felt like Cece. I felt like that's what she gave to us, in a way, like from a distance for me, because I'm in Australia, but she gave that, you know, she gave her bosom, she gave that safe space, that mother child.
And answering
Um,
and answering so many things. And she had been through so much in the Sea Org and in everything. And I just
Yeah.
felt like she was finally somebody not lying to us. And then so like hearing little things from her and going through everything just felt like such a relief. And like it feels so sad that she can't be here a little bit longer.
Yeah. I
and
mean,
Laura, I wanted to add, sorry, I
yes.
just want to add to this, like, so I don't forget it, because Laura, when you were talking earlier about saying, when she was talking about fighting, like when she would speak up and say, no, this isn't okay, that this is like this, like with her kids, like, and I know she didn't do that, you know, enough, because she should have done that way more than what she did. But even just like you said, just even hearing the little things from her, like one of the things that she really wanted me to share, and I put it on my community page, was these like there was a committee of evidence, I think in a court of ethics or something like that. It's on the community page, but she really wanted me to show that, because in it was like she was refusing to let go of her family time, like she was refusing to work through her family time, and she was getting in trouble and punished for that. And even just seeing that, and like seeing that that was important to her, because like you said, Laura, like my mother never asked questions, she never ever did that once. Cece did that many times. And there is something healing in that.
Yeah. I want to do one thing here before we do more talk from everybody. I just want to remind everybody, this stream is not monetized. This is a fundraiser for Cece. There's a GoFundMe set up. All the funds raised from the GoFundMe will go directly to David, to her partner. I set up the GoFundMe, just full disclosure, guys, so you guys understand. I set up the GoFundMe to make that easier on David, but all the funds are going directly to him. They are not going to me. Nothing raised so far. We've raised $210 tonight. But every cent, every penny, every thought counts. David's children and sister are here in the chat. Also, like, listening to the our thoughts and everything about Cece, who he loved very, very much. And
Hi, David.
Hi, David. And you know, Cece gave birth to 5 children. 2 of those children died. Most recently, she lost you know, an infant and an adult. And her remaining 3 children, if anybody, you know, knows any of her 3 kids, please reach out to them. I tried to reach as many people as I could today. But this is the kind of thing where Scientology is kind of the smallest town on the planet. And I used to say that jokingly, like, if you're going to get married to somebody, you kind of had to check if they were your cousin or not, because we kind of all like sprung from the same time period. Our parents kind of all got in the 70s, and it was a little bit wild. So you had to, like, people were divorcing and remarrying, and you didn't know, oh, that's my half step cousin or some shit. But if any of you know, you know, Sandy, Claire, or Jeremy, and you're watching this stream, please, please, please send them all of our love. And you know, let them know to reach out to any of us. We will, you know, I left my phone number with Jeremy, my ex-husband. I hope that he reaches out. I don't know. You may just be grieving, which is understandable. But I want to read one thing real quick, and then I'm going to let you guys talk. But Mona wanted me to read this email. This was the last email she got from Cece, which was actually from 2 days ago. So Mona says, this is one of the last emails I received from our princess warrior. Please read it. Being us both from Alaska, we bonded not only in how Scientology is a monster needing to be slain, but also in our spirit and culture. She fought Scientology to the end. And this is what Cece wrote. Good morning, Mona. Rather than send love notes from my mind directly to you, it's hard on an audience. Use my name. It's a case study after all. The long-term effects of raising children within the boundaries under the spell of Scientology via its e-meter mind tuning. Thank you for all the love yesterday. I couldn't find Brian's channel and had fallen down a hole. At 4A, the hospital had phoned 911 for hospitals rapid response team. My blood pressure had dropped below 60 for days and was now staying in the low 40s. My oxygen levels were low for weeks, and I've run a low fever since the 12th of December. And the discovery of a growing fog in the upper left lung. Now it's getting humorous. I'm in a single isolated room. Some of the nurses ask if I know what I have. Yes, an ugly fog of heartbreak. And yes, it's contagious. I got it from Scientology. The only known cure for me is like the book Nora is reviewing. Be impeccable at your word. In order for you to do that, you must do you. I should have done like I felt all these years and gone to the mountains and cried to my gods, the ones I had growing up and the guardians that have carried me this far. We learn from self-reflection of our errors, and we grow living better from those errors. And sharing is caring. There's a lot of emojis here, guys. I love you all. Thank you for the support. P.S. Jamie speaks of this fog on page 62 of his book. I have to remember what he calls it. It weighs heavy, right? It weighs heavy on empaths and those who have healed their own trauma and wounds. Cece. I just want to say this is like what made Cece so special is literally like the last picture she sent me. I'm laughing. It's the last picture and text message that I got from her. She was like, yeah, I'm doing good. But they seem to think I need more oxygen. And she had the tubing in her nose and a mask. And she was like, I guess I need more. I guess I need more. I mean, when I talked to her the day yesterday, and she was like, yeah, they did a thing on my lung. I saw the inside of my lung. It was pink. And she was laughing about it. And I'm just so glad that I had the last call that I did with her, because we ended it the way that we always did, which was I love you. And I feel like Cece loved so unconditionally and so wholeheartedly everybody that she came in contact with. And when she brought you into her life via email, via text, via the internet, she held you in her heart completely and totally. And she did so much individual healing, guys, from Scientology, and so much, like, as soon as she realized what the lie was, not just about her parenting, but about Scientology, we would have conversations about like all of the things, just deep, deep understanding of the universe and love and life, that she was like really coming back to herself, her origins, and just like her light. And I think that my hope, I don't know what death means. I don't know what that comes next, because it in our faith that we were indoctrinated into, we simply called it dropping the body, as if it was just like you threw a tissue in the trash. And I think it's just so much more than that, especially with someone as special as Cece, because I am extremely sad today, but I also feel her love. Like I feel that she's with us, and that she is so, like, just everywhere. Do you know what I mean? Like, she's at peace, and I'm so happy that she's not in pain. And that I hope that she's with her babies. I can only hope that. I don't know what it looks like, but if there is somewhere where there's like a waiting room of dead people to just like be there for you, I hope that happened for her, because she deserved that. Because despite all of the errors and things that she did, she learned from it. And I think that that's something we have to acknowledge, is that like that's the hardest part, for all of us, is like learning how to live and be and grow, and not be stuck in the past. And I would say Cece was one of the people that I know that lived right now, probably more than anyone else I've ever seen in my life, in such a beautiful beautiful way. The way she loved your music, Laura, the way that she hung on every word that we all said, and wanted for all of us to feel love, and to feel that we're important, and that we matter, and that we need to keep talking, and keep being here, and keep witnessing. And she was just such a piece of light. I don't know, I'm babbling now, but I got a lot of verklempt. Go ahead, take it away, somebody.
I think one other thing is at the shows she was like she would I think even for me and for Serge and for like other people that understand everything, I think our connection, it was like a double acknowledgement for both of us, like us being on the stage performing, doing our art, like being ourselves, being in our little fucking bubble, and then her like being like you know an idea of what our parents could have been, standing there chilling, having a drink, chilling with us, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and so it like filled a little bit of both of that. And then also just being like knowing that she had her children and all that in Scientology, and like being able to have that conversation that that I could wish I could do for so many people in Scientology. Like it just takes so much time. That's the only thing. Like we have the magic, we found it out. Like we've gone out and now we're like fighting against it. But like for some reason for her, it felt like she just was like, she just got it really quick. And I think it's again that double-edged like acknowledgement, like somebody who actually had been through so much shit in Scientology and then coming out and then been through so much shit, and like at so much times it's like I almost validate her for like, I don't know, all the smoking she did and everything. I'm just like, whatever. Like I can't believe such an independent person stood for so long. And then when it seemed like she was just shining and having so much fun, it like, of course, she goes, I hope finding peace where she doesn't have to hold any of this anymore.
Yeah.
She found peace, and she actually showed everyone what peace would look like if you could reconcile with the past. She is enshrined in numbers. Like she's in synchronicity with us in the universe, because we're all connected to this horrific situation, and now we're finding out that our diversity is what's empowering us, and the fact that Cece is again just molded a way for any other Scientology parent to go, okay, someone else did it before me, can be that scary. Can be that scary to pop a delusion, because that's what we're talking about. Like exactly what you just said before, Laura. It's like if you don't see it, then you're just in denial. And denial is not a river in this case. Denial is not admitting that the facts are the facts. And it takes us now being those adults that have to say that, to because we're not, the acknowledgement is not going to heal that inner wound that was given to us. Like the acknowledgement is coming from us, it's coming from internal. That's what they disconnected from us. They disconnected us from ourselves, and they are not connected to themselves. And that's what we have to acknowledge, right? Like these people are connected to another source. Literally, that's what they call it. Oh, I'm connected to a source. Well, that source does not have the best interest of anyone that it can get its claws into, because it becomes and acts as a parasite, and it actually creates spiritual cancer in anyone that gets touched by this disgusting disease called L. Ron Hubbard. And that's what it is. It's like it's a pathology. It's like it's a sickness that becomes these people. And we can see them because it's sickness. And it's a sickness you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. Because like, look at Cece dying of this heartache of leaving this life, still having to carry the pain of what could have been, but due to the sabotage of L. Ron Hubbard, all his bad ideas, all his bad definitions, all his bullshit words.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's that which guided everyone into the abyss. It's literally the rhetoric was guiding them into the literal abyss. And as they were falling, as they were bringing their kids, as everyone was in terror, they were forced to smile and say everything is great and we're saving a world in a cockroach infested motel where my kids are being abused. I mean, it's had to, all these decades have had to happen for this reconciliation of truth to come into place. And that's what we get to celebrate today, 75 years later of this dysfunction. It's like,
Yeah.
there's people that saw through the dysfunction, and like Dylan said, I mean, who am I to judge you for what you went through? You were there. It's almost a crime. It's a crime that happened because they were at the wrong place and at the wrong time. They were nabbed by somebody. They were pitched some bullshit, and it took a red pill or blue pill. Like that's why this matrix comparison has literally been made a million times, right? Because it's like, okay, what do you want to do? Come into this reality with this hotel and all this sham. And unfortunately, all of our parents fell into that abyss. And, today we're floating. We're the ones that are floating. We float on this abyss, right? Because they brought us there. That's our OT power today. We can float. So, but floating doesn't actually make you elevated from others, which was the thing that Scientology was always playing on. It was always a hierarchy. Like, these are the great ones, these are the degraded ones, these are the blah ones, these are the this ones. And everyone's commoditized and made into an asset and a tool and dehumanized. So I think that we're done with the dehumanization. I think that we're done with the bullshit. And we just are, in a place where we can literally demand that the bullshit stop, and that, people heed the warning. Because again, didn't they teach ethics was telling them what they needed to fix without being weedy, without being, reasonable? We're not being reasonable anymore. There is no excuse for what was done. There is none. There's no defense. There's no legal defense. There's no karma defense. There's nothing. There's only acceptance, radical acceptance of that which was. And yeah, do we have to reconcile a lot of shit? Is there a lot of heavy lifting ahead of us? There's a ton. There's a ton. We haven't even begun.
And Cece's the example for what, our parents' generation can aspire to. Like we need more.
A light. It's a light, a candle. It's a candle. There's a candle right there. See that candle. Like, that's all she could do. And it's like,
And
what?
there's nothing wrong. Like, nothing wrong with anybody. Like, what is so bad that would happen? You think this whole community would be like, oh wow, you did that, we condemn you? You know what I mean? Like look at Cece, when that's one of the things she told me. She said, what a fucking relief. And she just had teary eyes and was so loving. That's the other thing. She actually had change. I could literally see the weight lifted from her. I could see her
Well, and you
beautiful
know what,
shining
Laura? Think about
spirit.
the Scientology thing. You could never come clean and not get punished for it. As much as
That's
they
right.
purported, oh, we're gonna float it, we're gonna do this.
Always made it your
was
fault.
judgment,
And why
it was
can't
punishment, it was you're disgusting, you're degraded. It was always that. So
and they
coming
always
clean,
had solutions for things. So you better find the solution. You better fix this. You know, nothing was ever wrong. Oh my God.
well, it was always
And instead of
pounding and
just saying I'm
hammering,
sorry or
hammering the same shit, right? It's like it's like, we're not checking on you. Like, it's not our job. It's like, we're not here to change you. You change yourself. You're an adult. You take responsibility. You take accountability. Like, it's not my job. It's not your job. It's not any of us to do anything for her. We're glad that you came clean, that you relieved yourself of that. And we're happy that you're helping in whatever capacity you have available to you. Like, there's a lot of different ways that can be done. So yeah, I'm very glad that she came forward. And I think, just before I leave, you guys, life is short. So take every breath, make every second count. Don't take a single person in your life for granted. And we're here united, celebrating the win of that Cece touched us all, and that it showed us that our efforts weren't all for nothing out of the whole last year, for all the pain, for all the trauma, for all the confusion and whatever. It's like, you know what? It's what it takes. We're up against a juggernaut of dysfunction, of disgusting racketeering, and it's not going to be easy, but the hurricane can be cleaned up, right? The fucking Palisades fires can be cleaned up. Every disaster can be cleaned up. And
Yeah.
it's going to take a lot of cleaning it up. But you know what? They all know how to clean. That's a great idea here. They all know how to clean with holes. They all know how to clean dumpsters. They all know how to clean. Like, you were literally we're just going to have to clean other things now. That's what this moment calls for. That's it. It calls for new awareness, and invite the awareness. It's not a punishment. The awareness is not a punishment. And I think that's what Cece was able to get at the end of the day. It's like, oh,
Yes.
you've made me aware. Like, okay, yeah, I
Yes.
see it. Like, it's like, we don't have to
And she
convince you of the
felt good
fact.
about it. And she
We
felt
Yeah.
good about
we
it, and
know
you
the
could
facts
see it.
already. We always knew the facts. Yes, we were kids. Yes, we were turned into miniature adults. Yes, we saw what you did. We saw it with our own two eyes. Now we
Yep.
understand how
You can't
that
fool us.
happened. I mean, it can. It doesn't work that way, right? And it's like, again, thank God it doesn't work that way, because again, we can be those adults we didn't have when we were there. Having these conversations, making the children be a priority, demand that the kids are not exposed to anything they cannot consent to. Is that simple? All
Yeah.
of this, like, oh, we need to do this and we need to do that, is simple. Kids cannot be exposed to Scientology. They cannot consent to it. Period. Full stop. Every Scientology parent needs to be put on notice. And, the more they tell each other that that's a thing, truth also spreads like a wildfire. That's why Scientologists put a cap onto all of this, because they don't want the truth to be exposed, because then they will cut off their supply and pipeline of kids. And they're very pressed about that, because they use the kids to continue the racketeering. We know that. We were there being used for that. We get that they weren't saving a single shred of world. So, we're aware. We know. We're fully aware. We know you like the back of our hand. We didn't ask for this knowledge, but, knowledge is power. And right now
Mhm.
calls for the reversal of all of this unhingement and chaos. It's frankly chaos. It's like, even you see somebody as devoted as her that had a great childhood. Well, the chaos can be just brought back because you made that one wrong choice of like, oh, what are you pitching? Oh, we're going to help a world, and I'm going to be better, and I'm going to help. And we know that they grabbed everybody with that sickness of pitching themselves as helpful people, but they were vampires and parasites. That's what L. Ron Hubbard turned them into. I mean, unfortunately,
Yeah.
but
No, and we know, and she broke that cycle,
Totally.
and she is an example of healing from that. And I think your passion and her passion match, Serge. In terms of like how much she wanted that to come to an end. And
I'm
her,
so glad that I was able to see that aspect of it. You
yeah,
see what I'm saying? Because like I said, I know a lot of the Scientology parents hate me, but I do not care because
no, I
I
know that,
saw a Scientology parent be told the facts. It was hard for her to go through it, but I saw her come through to the other end. And that's
right?
what we're doing here. Every time we're denouncing all this stuff, we're deprogramming them. We're getting them to actually see the facts, actually see the truth, actually see the context. Because we can see straight through the lies. Like there is no lie that these people can
No,
put in
I know,
front of us.
I know, but like also tonight we want to like honor what Cece did and honor her as a person, because that's
And I'm doing that,
no,
Nora.
I
In
know, I
case
know
you
that.
didn't notice that,
No,
I'm doing that.
I know. I'm aware. I'm not mad. I'm just, I'm just reiterating that is, that she is the one, like she's the Neo of, the parents that we've been waiting
She's
for.
the parent that came clean. I mean, I think that also like going into the neo and this and that is like, yes, I think we're all acknowledging what impact she had on us. So
Mhm.
that's what I acknowledge. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I have to go, guys.
I love
Thank
you.
you. Bye.
Thank you for coming. Bye.
Ciao.
Bye, Serge. I wanted to add as well. One of the things that Cece was doing was she was grabbing onto as much information as she could in her sort of later years, where she was studying a lot and she was wanting to learn about the brain and she was reading books and all kinds of things. So that was really, I think, a part of her, that later journey of like wanting to understand, like not just about, I think she wanted to understand herself too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was really really important. But what I kind of got from that too is like, oh, we're all like Laura's song is living and learning, loving and learning. And
Learning
Cece
and
really
loving, but a lot
learning
of
and
people
loving.
like to say living and learning, and then some people like to say other words, and I'm like, yeah. Sometimes I'm like, go for it.
I really got that spirit like of like, and it did feel like a unity, between Laura's music, Cece wanting to understand Laura and her experiences, and also the broader, the children and her own children, and then also wanting to understand her own experiences. And
you know what? One of the one song that made me literally connect to her emotionally in the deepest way was I Love You, because she was crying so hard and she like couldn't breathe. She couldn't tell me what she was trying to say. She's like, it was so beautiful. And she knew it was for my mom. And I can only imagine now why, like, she could imagine, like, if her daughter had written something like that for her. I just think that like that song was one of the things that where I emotionally just like fine, I'll break down to her and we'll see how much she can actually handle. And she took it, like she really took it, and it like healed something really deep in me.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
I can totally understand that. Yeah.
I'm just going to remind
absolutely.
people the link for the GoFundMe has been shown several times. I'm just going to pop that back up here. Please go to the GoFundMe if you can. I see people have been donating. I just want to acknowledge that. The people who have donated, thank you all so much. This is going to help David out a lot. But if you can, we're here to share Cece, but we're also here to help. This is going to remain in my on my channel for as long as it needs to be. We'll put that up there. But I just wanted to throw that back out there. Dylan, you were in contact constantly with Cece for probably the longest amount of time. I mean, I was in and out of her life for the last 30 years. We reconnected really over the last few years. What would you say, like, that you saw from the time that she, left, like she was kicked out essentially, of the Sea organization and stuff. How would you characterize like her journey from that time period until, now?
Um, I would say that um, Cece always was hungry for knowledge, but felt shame and felt she, you know, I I really have a hard time with all these separations and all these, and we all have our trauma, right? Cece had her trauma,
Mm-hmm.
and she was doing the best she could to not bleed all over everyone
Mm-hmm.
while she was healing, so she could heal and then help other people and get help from other people and educate herself, just like we all are trying to do. We're all struggling through these things that are so overwhelming that it would be so much easier to not confront them rather than to look them head on.
Yeah.
And I think one of her strengths was looking at things head on. And whether she's a mother and whether how awful, yeah, I don't think of Cece as my mother. I don't think of Cece as my father. Those people are special human beings that deserve their own little space in hell. Um, Cece was a human that kept living and struggling with the choices she made under the guise of self-imposed brainwashing, corrosive persuasion, whatever you want to call it. But she was healing. She was a survivor.
Yeah.
And honored the ones that were in our past, and she wanted to educate the ones that were still indoctrinated. And I think when you're reaching and you're healing, that is, it's hard. It triggers other people.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's there's a lot that comes up, and it's hard not to center
Absolutely.
ourselves in somebody else's trauma sometimes, because when you see somebody else confronting something that a lot of times we can't, it's like, this is my only shot. I'm gonna barf all over too,
Right.
and
And
that's
people are also relating to it. They're
and there's
relating to
nothing
it
wrong with that.
without realizing it. Yeah.
Right. No, absolutely. And it's easy to say me too. And you know what? Even you know what happened to me? Because it is this that it's like, this is why we kind of all landed here, and why we all our intersections kind of cross is we're trying to heal. We're trying to leave these high control religious groups and honor the ones that have fallen and didn't make it this far. And we're trying to hold space for the fellow survivors that did, and educate the ones that are still indoctrinated, and hope they come out and, I guess, like, walk this path that we've walked. So maybe it's a little smoother, or maybe they won't stub or break their feet. I mean, that's all I can hope, is that this is a path that, like, we're all carving, and we will be the fallen sometimes, and hopefully we won't be forgotten. And this is our healing space. It's ugly, but it's all we got sometimes. So
Yeah.
I think CC embodied that. I think that's what the last text. CC was funny. That letter was hilarious. I loved the letter. Um, she texted me yesterday at 1:36 p.m. and she said, "Biopsy done. Samples taken. Crap vacuumed out of my lung. Morphine on the way. tough, tough breathing." Those like 3 exclamation points. Tough breathing, but a relief to soon know what the hell is going on. Thanks for your thoughts. Love having friends. And she sent an emoji of her little dancing granddaughter.
Yeah.
And we have lots of exchanges like that. She's just a beautiful soul, and I don't choose to look at her as an evil. It's hard. When do we vilify people? If I would have stayed in the Sea Org, I'd be one of the evil people right now that you all hate. Yet I never had a choice. So I try to find that grace, or that middle ground of, like, show me. I'll accept you for where you are right now. A simple atonement, pivot in actions, and I'm willing to love and accept you for right where you are. You show me you're dangerous, you show me you're going to hurt me, I'm going to use healthy boundaries, and I'm going to use distance.
Yeah.
I would just say, I would just say that, I mean, I don't think anyone's evil. I don't sort of look at it in that, like, it's not sort of black and white. But I think with the parent-child relationship, it's a really important topic, and it was one that was important to Cece as well, to try and understand. And and it was what she wanted. I think that it was very important to what she wanted to achieve, in that understanding, her understanding it, us understanding maybe some pieces of it, or just to reach a mutual, and as I said, like, I felt like there was unity and healing in that, in realizing as well, like, context, and realizing, her vulnerabilities, like, that she was really uneducated when she came into it. And also time periods are context as well, like, historically, like, this was before the internet, no one knew about coercive control, it wasn't a word, you know what I mean? So that's what I got. I got context, and I got understanding, and I got, like, depth, nuance, right, which is important in any human story. But I would say, there is a responsibility as a parent to, and I'm not directing this at Cece, I'm just saying as a general thing, on the topic of where you're saying, like, looking at those people that are in there, and thinking that they're evil. Like, I don't feel that, and I don't hold that at all. My brother Ben is still there, and he's 41 years old, and he's been there his whole life. And I love him so much, and I wish he could get out. And I wish he could. Like, this is how hard it is. Like, Cece's journey took her so long, and she came into it as an adult. And my brother Ben, he just never stood a chance, because he's still there. And because he's, like, sometimes also, in a way, the like, the purest of heart, the kindest of heart, the gentlest of heart, the most empathetic, those are some of the people that are still there because of that, because they're not willing to, like, because it's more difficult for them. Whereas I, as a kid, I think maybe I've always been a little bit of an asshole, you know what I mean? Like, I was always stirring trouble, I was always getting into trouble, and I think that helped me get out, right? So
Same.
but
That's
right,
interesting.
and
I love
so,
that
like,
perspective.
yeah,
I choose to believe
yeah,
that as well. A lot of people that I knew in the Sea Org, they're there because they truly want to make the world a better place. And even though that's not the formula to do it, their intentions are as pure as they've been since they were babies.
Yeah.
And I wish that for you too. I wish that none of our parents, or family members need to die in that place. I really do. I have 6 right now in
Wow.
Scientology. I have
and I
fathers who are
just
teachers indoctrinating kids right now. Sorry, everyone. I have sisters, I have cousins, I have uncles, I have aunts.
My
wow.
So
mother
yeah,
literally does the editing, like, that keeps the Sea Org
right,
members in there.
right.
That
So we
keeps
all
them
have
in
a
there at
vested. That's
every
why we're
event,
here,
2 months.
right? That's why
Like,
I'm here,
literally
right?
lying to all the Sea Org members, everybody. She's a liar. Like, my mom is literally lying to all the Sea Org members. She gets it approved by David Miscavige. His speech to all the video footage. That video footage is the made up golden air production shoots that they're literally doing at these fake volunteer minister fucking events. That's why it's so fucking engraved in our souls to, like, shout this shit out all the time. We're like, no, this is not fucking okay. People are dying because of these fake ass frauds.
Yeah, but
you
let me
know?
ask you a question, Laura. Let me ask you an important question. If your mom, by some crazy chance of luck, is watching this stream, okay, what would you want her to know right now? What would you want to say
I
to
don't
your mom?
know. I just feel like she has to watch all of our streams, and she needs to watch. She literally does. Like
No, but you
that,
know what I
like
mean? Like
when
she,
when
your mom knew
Rosemary came out.
Cece.
When
Your mom,
Rosemary came out,
right.
yeah. And when Rosemary came out, Mike Brown could have fucking said showed her like, that's what we think, and they were like, wait, okay, pump the fucking brakes. This
Right.
is literally gonna ruin the only connection I do finally have with my mom.
Right.
Even if it's the shittiest, weakest connection, fine. I can save a fucking plant in my kitchen. I can save my mother's motherfucking soul for even a tiny bit.
Well, and we can
Gotta
save
water
ourselves.
slowly.
We can be that change that we want to see in other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So I
what
had to
we
pull the
really
back.
can
I'm like,
do for
how
our
am I going to
parents.
do that? How? Yeah. And also the fact, but because Cece, I don't know. This is as simple as I can say it. Like something shifted in her mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this because we were very open when we hung out and just said it all. She would even say, why are you ridging with me? Because that's the only fucking word like that we could use. That means like,
I'm sorry.
we're not like, you're not trying to upset me or whatever, but like that's the only way we could explain to each other. Like, why
Yeah.
are you ridging on that? Like, why are you ridging in Sea Org Scientology land is like you're like being like resentful or like you're
No
adding mass
cry.
to something
No
to a question.
counterintentions.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Counter intention. So
Well, I mean,
she would
yeah,
be like,
you
why
have
are
to
you
use the
ridging on me?
language. Yeah.
Yeah, but how the fuck else are we gonna do it? Like Dylan's saying, how the fuck else? How the fuck else? I'm gonna be real loud right now.
Okay.
Do you think we're gonna ever fucking do this without a little of all this shit getting stirred up? It's full of trauma.
Yeah.
Every bit of it.
But let me
Every
say,
one of our nerves every day.
no,
are
we're
getting
all fucked
fucking
up.
jolted and
Yeah.
oh no, did I do something wrong? Oh God.
I know,
It's
but let me
just
say this, Laura. I want to acknowledge something that both
don't
you and
calm
Dylan.
me down, Nora.
Okay, I'm not. You stay wild. Here's what I want to say is that like what Dylan said is so important is that we can all change and we all witness Cece's change, but the reason why she could change is because we started healing ourselves. It really starts right here because we're not healed. We're not like, hey guys, we're done. Thanks for coming. We're totally great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Scientology done. Out of my brain. Wash that right out of my hair. We're not at that stage. But
it's gonna go for the rest of our lives.
It could, yeah. But because we're on the healing journey, right? And we're able to be vulnerable. We're able to tell these truths, these uncomfortable, hard, heartbreaking, fucking terrible truths to the world, to each other, tell the truth to ourselves, which is already like hard, right? And we're doing this publicly, is that she saw all of that and was like, oh, I was part of it. And then grew from that, right? And like this is part of, for all of us in this weird, thing where we're all connected forever, whether we like it or not, because we were all somehow born into or raised in or worked in or whatever, this, insane asylum called Scientology. And we're all kind of, escapees and learning how to be whole people again. That's the, these are the things that I'm realizing in the now times, like, because even Cece would tell me like, don't let other people get you down. And I know she was trying to basically gently be like, you're being a lot. Like you're talking about things that aren't helping. Like she was helping me too. Like, hey, listen, you're important. You have such a great voice. You're gonna like, I mean, you guys have all told me this too. Like, focus on this and da-da-da-da. And I was just like, fuck this shit. I'm gonna fucking talk about what I want. And only in like the recent times, especially talking to her and like her watching, she didn't comment on every stream. She was watching, and then she would text me and be like, I just watched your stream. It was so beautiful. And like, thank you for, putting that out there. It's so important, and it's like those little tiny things led me along with a lot of other things, but like to realize it's not about something that we all get stuck on, I think, is like the truth, justice, and like it's got to be right because that's how we were programmed. And I got stuck in that loop myself, but it's really about the healing journey, because what I saw Cece do out loud and with all of us was that like unconditional healing and owning not just her journey and her mistakes, but like guiding us along the way to also seeing like, listen, we were in this thing. It was fucked up. I did fucked up things, but like, here's what I've learned. And here's what you remember this when you said this is what you learned. And this is where you moved to. And it's like, we have to really start, doing that, like what Dylan was talking about, like more for each other is, you know, we are each other's support. We speak that language, you know what I mean? And it's a shitty, stupid, fucking crazy language that was made by an insane person. And we can all acknowledge that, but we have to like use Cece
Well,
as the example. Go ahead, Dylan.
and I think Cece, she wasn't dedicated to misunderstanding what we went through. She was
Mm-hmm.
receptive to it. And not
Mm-hmm.
only was she receptive, she atoned for the actions and then pivoted and started showing a better behavior based on that. A lot of the people that we're speaking of and a lot of this pain that we go back to are people that are dedicated to misunderstanding us.
Mm.
And what do you do and what do you say to somebody who's dedicated to misunderstanding you? You tell
You
them
just
that
walk
you
away.
understand. Well, you say you
Oh.
understand. I understand. Right? And then you go and live your best life.
Miriam's
And
like,
you
fuck
do-
that guy.
Yeah,
And Dylan's like, no,
Yeah.
we come together and we
Peace and understanding.
Dylan
Yeah.
is now the leader. He's going to guide us through this. But no, what you're saying is totally true, Dylan. Like you have to really understand what the other person is going to. And also like, because I'm reading the book, Let Them Now. It is the second book in book club. Please tune in next Wednesday for more of, you know, the book that we're on right now, which is the 4 Agreements. But like learning how to literally just say, let them, you know, like that includes all of us. Like if somebody is doing something that I don't agree with, and Laura's told me this a million times, just like, do you, boo, just shine your light. Don't fucking get involved in everybody's stuff, because the truth is that we were so brainwashed as children from the time of our birth on up that the only thing, I mean, it go back to, you know, fucking stupid Keeping Scientology Working Series 1. The only thing that matters is what you do here and now with and in Scientology. And this is the only thing that matters, right? And so you as an individual, us as individuals, we never mattered. We never mattered. We never loved ourselves. And this is literally, we have to start there with the loving ourselves. And I think Cece really loved herself in the best way possible. She was not full of it. She was not full of herself, but she knew who she was. And she was like, I'm me and I love myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what allowed her to show that love to all of us. You know what I
She
mean?
was
Like,
like, okay with
and that
not
took
being
her
okay.
yes,
yeah,
yes,
and that
Dylan.
took her a lot to
Absolutely.
get to.
Yeah.
Right. No,
Can I
absolutely.
add
did, and
in-
it took a lot of work. Go ahead,
There's
Mary.
definitely times she did not love herself. I can
Yeah.
tell you that. She told me straight up.
Yeah.
She was okay with not being here.
Yeah.
But that's how you heal. Healing isn't sunshine and flowers and roses. We're dealing with crap
Mhm.
that all our lives we've either had to normalize or we've had to, it's so overwhelming, we had to try to shove it away somewhere.
Yeah.
And what happens? The past starts repeating itself and becomes the future. And here we are bypassing the present. And Cece was trying to live in the present.
Yeah.
And it was hard. It's hard to do that. Hard to survive.
I wanted to add just on sort of like to circle back around to that, what we were talking about before, when I'm looking at, you know, things that have happened, like there is a distinction. There is a very black and white where you can make a really black and white distinction, I think, and I feel, is when it comes to the law and criminal behavior and crimes. And Cece did recognize that crimes had occurred. And that was the thing that was part of her thing that she was doing.
That's the biggest thing.
And
that's the biggest thing.
It's huge, right? So it's
that
not,
showed us all like, oh my God, my mom will also know what her crimes were in her division and what she's doing because they're so fucking obvious, right? When you say, hey, work hours are only supposed to be this, you're supposed to be being paid this, children are not supposed to be doing this whatsoever, period. Like
Yeah.
14, there's even laws of certain like, anyways, I learned a lot of that from you the other night. You and
That is such an
Grammy,
excellent
Fat
point,
Love
Mona.
it.
Grammy, Mona.
That is, yeah, that's such an excellent point, because there are people that are taking notice, and they
Yeah.
are
Mhm.
the pressures, and they're starting
And it's
to
making us be more
ADA
clear about what we're
compliance. Right.
yeah.
It's what this message is
Yes.
supposed to produce with the people that are here, is like, we won't, those are our blind spots.
Yeah.
Those are the
Mhm.
church's weaknesses.
Totally.
We count that. So we show our vulnerability, and now these people are taking the reins. Now, if we do it
Mhm.
right, this is something we can do.
That's
You
how
know?
it's gonna go, right? That's
Right,
how it's gonna
right.
work. And
No, absolutely.
I just wanted
Valid.
to say, like, in support of what Serge was saying, is Serge has been, from my observation point, the one that early on was talking about criminal behavior and crimes, and what those crimes were, like what is forced labor, what is human trafficking, things that I didn't
Yeah.
know about, right? So I just wanted to say, like, in support of him, I think what he's trying to do is like acknowledge, like, yes, and rightly so, we, sometimes we, it can feel so brash in how we come across, because, and I'm speaking for myself as well, because sometimes we have to be that way, because it's not just about feelings, it's about facts. And these are actual crimes that occurred. Like, child abuse is a crime, forced labor is a crime, child labor is a crime. And
Yes.
these crimes, not one of them has seen any justice. Not one child in Scientology has seen justice. Not one of the thousands of children.
Mm-hmm.
So, we missed the boat on the sexual assault cover up in institutions. And that's gone, that's come and gone. And yet, and you know what I mean, we keep missing these boats. And so it's like, the time is now to talk about the crimes, define what they are, and who did it, and
Mm-hmm.
when it was done, and report that, against what legal act did that violate, and what time frame was that act in place, did it occur at that time. And we need to educate and inform people who were children in it, because we didn't receive an education, we weren't informed, we weren't, we just didn't have that sort of sense. And like, I liked what you were saying, Dylan, like how it takes kind of both of those things, of like us being vulnerable and opening up and saying, hey, this happened. And because sometimes we don't even understand fully like what that was. And because abuse was so normalized, everything was normalized. Like, oh, this is just how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the difference there is, like, adults coming into it, they had a point of reference. They had, in a lot of cases, received a full education. And for the kids, didn't. So there's difference there. There's shades and nuances, but and there's a ton of allowance for forgiveness and open arms. And like, damn, we loved Cece, and we'll keep on loving her for sure. Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah.
And I love that she recognized that there were black and white aspects in crimes, and that they needed recognition, that the children needed justice, and we still need that justice. We need that recognition.
Yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
it's also part of the stages of healing. And I hold absolute space for that for everyone. I've been in
I love
anger
that.
and denial, and like those are valid. That's how we heal. And like I love Serge's passion, and I respect and hold space for his healing journey.
Yeah.
I know through my healing journey, I fall back into anger. I fall back into denial.
Mm-hmm.
I try to have acceptance. I know, and forgiveness sometimes scares the living shit out of me, to be honest. I'm gonna have to forgive
I
some
hear
of these
ya.
people that I've spent decades being angry and blaming and not, and then finally I realize I have to be that person. I have to be that change that I want them to be,
Right.
which means that I ultimately have
Mm.
to forgive that person. Not okay. It's not. I did a post on my YouTubers, and it talks about I don't have to. Forgiveness to me doesn't mean that I condone your behavior.
Right.
Forgiveness to me is I see you for who you are, and I'm not going to be a part of that. I'm going to forgive you, and I'm going to let you
Mm.
know who you are, and I'm going to try to be the better person, or be the person, the best that I can be, and live beyond that trauma. because you can't.
I
I can put myself in a cage over and over because how my father and how poor and me and
Right.
hurts. It sucks. And losing friends is like losing a family member, because when you don't have people to call on the holidays, and they don't, that's how
Yeah.
you bond. And maybe that's a trauma bond, and maybe that's okay.
Mm.
Like, and maybe that's part of it. So I just think I really choose to, I really want to, because I need it the most. I want to pour love into as much and acceptance and understanding. I really want to try to meet people where they're
Mm.
at. And if I can't, then
Yeah,
I
that's
can't.
cool.
That's
But
an amazing skill to, I mean, that's something I'm definitely
Yeah.
working on. I'm not I'm
hard.
getting better.
And
It's a hard
there's no right or wrong, and
I
I
mean,
might
I'm thinking like
screw
a
up tomorrow.
thousand thoughts while you're saying all that. It's just, like, and that's really a lot of what I'm learning in the book, the Let Them theory, is like,
Right.
that's kind of like the forgiveness. It's not that you're saying, oh, okay, whatevs, to what you
Yeah, it's all good
did.
what you did to me. Thank you.
Yeah,
No,
thank you so much for this trauma. No,
right.
you
You have no
it's
power over me anymore.
right. It's a totally
I'm
different
gonna heal on my
concept.
own, despite
Yeah,
you, and I
yeah,
forgive you, and you live with that, and I'll live my true life
yeah.
with my
That's an
survival.
incredible statement. Yeah,
I love that. I
I
love that.
still struggle with the forgiveness thing.
It's
I
hard,
think
and
it's something with the word. I don't struggle with
Mm.
forgiving.
guys,
I
Claire's in
think
the
it's
chat.
something.
I just
Mhm.
want to say something.
What?
Claire's in the
Oh,
chat.
Claire.
Claire, if you,
Hi, Claire.
Claire, I'm sending you so much love right now. Thank you for, just being here in the chat. I want you to know there's so much love for your mom right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love you, and thank you for even popping in. Please rest. Please take care of yourself. Please eat. I hope that you and
I hope
your
this will make the fundraiser will make this easier for you.
yeah, and I really yeah. I just wanted to say I love you, Claire. I haven't talked to you in forever and a day. But you're we've been sharing incredible stories about your mom tonight. We have so much love for her, and I know how much she loves you. Still, even now, she's going to be with you forever. Like, I know that's I'm trying really hard, because like as Scientology kids, guys, Scientologists, I don't know if you guys ever lost somebody like a Scientologist close to you, but like when my father passed when I was 19, I had like OTs coming up to me to tell me how they had just like had a conversation with my dad, and when they were exterior to the universe, and like messages from him, and it was some of the most disturbing, awful stuff, which prevented my actual acknowledgement and healing from that. It's 30 years this year that my father passed, but like, this is something, Claire, I just want you to know, like, I feel we're all here for you. Anything you need, please let us know. I'm speaking for everybody now, but it's my show. I'm going to do what I want. And
surround yourself with love.
yeah, and please
Yeah.
reach out to us. We are sending you love also.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I interrupted somebody who was talking as usual. I'm sorry. Was that you, Lara? I don't know. But
I just
go
wanted
ahead.
to say,
Yes.
yeah, I wanted to just highlight and underscore everything that you just said, Nora, and thank you so much, Claire, for putting a message in there. Yeah, I know this is like, I can't imagine how hard it is for Claire, and it is going to be for her. So just all our support and whatever
Well,
we
you
can do
grew
to
up
help.
with Claire, right, Miriam?
Claire's a little bit older than me. I mainly
Mhm.
grew up with the two younger sisters.
With Sarah and Sandy.
But Claire I saw around. Like, I saw Jeremy around, and I saw Claire around.
Yeah.
And Claire was like super cool, and yeah, and I was just a little kid.
She was super. She is super cool. She's
Yeah.
always been a
Yeah.
rebel.
Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I know that Cece and her are really close. So yeah, all sympathies and support go out to her.
Yeah,
Yeah, and when
absolutely.
and if you're ready, we all have crazy, funny Cece stories about her Sea Org adventures and all sorts of fun stuff. So,
We can translate.
always happy
Yeah.
to share.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, we've been going
Yeah.
about 2 hours. I'm gonna. I want you guys to each get a moment here to say one last thing that you want to say tonight. I'll just go in the order I see you guys here on this. Miriam, go ahead. You have the floor here.
Oh gosh. Dylan, I want to say thank you for talking about forgiveness. I think that's a really important topic, and I feel like I could learn some things from you. So I hope that you will continue to talk about that. I don't know why I'm feeling like so emotional right now. Anyways, I mean, I know it's an emotional time, but like, why does talking about forgiveness make me feel emotional? I don't know. Maybe there's so much tied into it. But I do think that
There's a lot to have to
is
forgive.
yeah. And
I'm not ready for some of it, but yeah, I understand that it can come at some point.
and it's also not like a requirement or necessary. Like, not everybody has to forgive shit. But I did love how you explained it.
I'm gonna put that on a loop.
Yeah. But I love how you explained it, Dylan. I can really relate to that, where you said it's about it. Part of it is acknowledging what the other person did, and also, so this is just side note. Sorry, and I hope I'm not
No.
taking up too much time, but
You have as
I
much
had,
time as
and
you
maybe
want.
I think this is why I'm feeling emotional, particularly. Okay, all right. Sorry, maybe I shouldn't talk about this part.
No,
But
go ahead.
basically, just on that topic of
No, talk
forgiveness,
about it.
all right. So about some time ago, I did a phone call with my father. Sorry, this is like probably not the vibe right now,
No,
guys.
it's take your
Um,
time. Take your time.
You're amazing.
I hadn't spoken to him in like 15 years, and I had to do it because I needed evidence for my case. And I thought to myself, like, all of our parents are aging, and I thought this might be the last time that I talk to him for forever. And also, I don't want to talk to him ever again. I didn't even want to talk to him this time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to him as if it's the only conversation I'll ever have with him for the rest of my life. And that conversation could have been, half hour, but it went for 2.5 hours.
Wow.
And that's really fucking hard. Like, if anyone understands what I've been through, can understand even physically, like, what I was experiencing, even just trying to get through that phone call. But I needed to do it. I wanted to do it for myself. And so anyways, he was crying at different points. And he said, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for the conditions that you were left in, and the conditions that you were in, like, as a child. Like, not just me, my brothers as well. And anyways, there was a few things that obviously we talked about, and at the end of it, I began to see all of his shortcomings. Like, I began to see him not just as a father, but as a person who, like, who had failed and who had done, had committed crimes, and but was also, someone that was in the system and that had been coerced, and, those human trafficking elements that I definitely obviously could see. And like, he, was taken to another country and all this sort of thing. So, and then never having money or the means to do anything. And so, like, I understood all those things. And at the end of it, I said to him that I forgive him. And I thought that would make me feel better, And also, I said it because I meant it. Because at that moment, I could see him as in his entirety after 2.5 hours of talking. And so I guess what I'm saying is that, like, yeah, forgiveness is possible. And when I came out of that phone call, it was like the next like 24 hours, like I was so sad. I was just really, really, really sad. And I went on to pursue the criminal actions that I've taken. And anyways, but my point is that I forgave him, knowing that I might have justice in my future.
Mhm.
If that makes sense, like.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that that was a possible outcome of that conversation, was that in the future, however many years in the future, there is a possibility of justice. But I forgave him because I meant it in that moment. But I think that if, that's something that I'll probably have to revisit if I don't get that outcome, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
when we talk about, and that's where I kind of like contrast it with, like, when there's crimes involved, it's different. It's not as simple as that. And but I appreciate you, Dylan, for providing that like nuance to it,
Yeah,
because it
absolutely.
isn't just a black and white thing. Yeah. And I appreciate it. Okay, so Cece, sorry guys, I'm
Can
sorry
I
I got
add
No, but-
one thing to that, Miriam? Just
Go for
'cause
it, Laura.
This is what I just thought about that, about what Dylan said and about what you just said about it. I think you're, as I would too. And I could be totally wrong. I feel like you're protecting yourself in case he does pass away. That at least you can deal with why
Yep.
you can't seem to forgive him, but at least you did it for him, so he doesn't have to suffer with so much guilt. Because you're
that
so
is actually
loving
true, Laura,
that you don't
because he
want to
kept
let
crying.
him die without, like, because
Yeah.
he clearly doesn't get it. He doesn't get how fucking severe, like,
Yeah.
and I just think that you don't deserve to have to be left with him not under his like crap, his not
Mhm.
getting it, and you don't deserve that. And I think it's better. I wish I could just say, hey, Dad, fine. You want to stay in the Sea Org? You want to fucking do all this shit? I understand. I just want you to know we're not going to see each other anymore. So just, I love you. I forgive you. So at least
Yeah.
if he is dying, he feels that you did give him the ultimate love. Like, hey, this was the cleanest, purest love that you'll ever get. And I
Yeah.
think later that
Yeah.
might help you. I don't know.
No, I totally get that for what you're saying with your father, absolutely. And you are correct in saying that. That was my thought, was like, I wanted to end his suffering. I wanted to end his pain, because he kept crying in the conversation. And I mean, it's like, but yeah, so it's like, it was like, I didn't want him to suffer anymore. I want my
Mhm.
justice. That's different,
Mhm.
if that
And
makes
you're
sense.
getting it.
He
You're
will-
getting it. You're going to
right.
stay alive long enough to get your justice. Like, and we are here protecting you. Actually, look at Cece. Like, literally, we don't have any fucking idea
Yeah.
when we're going to fucking die. I say that in so many of my
Yeah.
songs as well. I'm like, we don't know what's going to fucking happen in the end.
Yeah.
And so, like, no, we don't know, but I know that you are strong and you're literally learning all these legal things. And I know that from your last episode that you just did with Mona, and like explaining so much just basic childhood laws. Like, nope, actually, this is when the abuse mentally started, and this is when slave labor started. Like, it
Right.
just really
Yeah.
pins it down. And I don't know. I just think that, like, Miriam, you're so ladylike and so beautiful and strong as fuck and badass and so loving and such a mother to be able
Yes.
to have
Yes.
forgiven your dad, even if you didn't. You were fucking doing it for himself, which is like almost literally like Cece did that for us in ways that our parents aren't going to do
Yes.
for us.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think that's really great that, like, you're still going to get your justice. You're still going to be like, hey, Dad, hope I can see you in jail soon so we can see if I can really get you some fucking help.
100%.
Like, you
Yeah.
know what? That would be the ultimate goal, sadly. Like, he couldn't fucking handle it. Come on. He can do the RPF. He can fucking handle jail. Give me a break.
Actually,
Well, I
it'd be
don't know.
that would be a
Actually,
paradise
yeah,
compared
no,
to the
yeah.
RPF.
Well,
That
I
would
would
be-
say it would be paradise, but he also might get killed because I know they aren't down with anything like that in jail.
no,
Or there's
Yeah.
no.
like, anyways.
you
But
know
what
I
I'm
mean.
saying is that he would have, even if he fucking died in jail instead of the Sea Org, would be more freedom that
Mhm.
you gave him the chance to
It's
fucking
true.
have than nothing. And that's where I think your forgiveness comes. And that's what I was saying earlier to Dylan. Like, I don't know about the word forgiveness, but I do like paths of freedom or paths of releasing things. Yes, many different ways to fucking let something go if somebody else is not going to let it go for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And then I guess I should say some words about Cece.
Yes.
My final Cece, we are going to absolutely keep loving you and learning with you, and we just absolutely appreciate the gifts that you gave us, like that, you know, we're gonna have forever in our hearts. And yeah, I just want to say, like, I loved her. Okay, the one last thing I wanted to say is, like, okay, one of the conversations I had, like, I don't know, just how she was like, you know what, Miriam, if I feel and I think she would call me Miriam, like that, like, which is similar to how my brother would say my name. And she would say, you know what, if I feel upset about something ever, I would just I'm just gonna go and like walk, and I'll just keep walking and walking, and I'll collect river pebbles and
Rock.
like that was her
Rock.
attitude. Like, yeah, she's just like, I'm gonna go straight out into nature. And I don't know, it's just the way she said things, and like she just,
She would hike
yeah,
for
I just,
days.
there's an absolute beauty in her that shown. And yeah, I just, my only regret is that, yeah, that we, you know, obviously didn't have longer, but yeah, and then it happened, yeah, so suddenly.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But we can definitely go on those hikes and walks, long walks and long, like, oh my God, this is what she was talking about. Walk until you're not going to physically make a wrong move that later you're going to regret.
Yeah.
It's so quite kind of like ballsy of her. She was such a fucking rock star. She totally reminded me of Linda Perry and like somebody else, like mixed together. It was so wild.
Do you want to go next, Laura? On the last thing you want to say
I
about
would just
Cece?
say, yeah, I really loved that Forever. I had a little interview as well with but I really loved, I was like, woo, in Miriam and her interview when they did that. I was just like, yes, so happy that, like, and then I learned things about Cece even through that I'm like, oh yeah, she was trying to tell me that when we were in the thing. And I'm like, see how we both literally couldn't hear each other because we had so much to fucking say. And that's what I really got from Cece, is that I could sit with her at the bar anytime. She'd come to my show at any time, and I would have that 5 minutes with her, or I'd sit there 20 fucking hours or whatever it was, where we would just be like all day. Same with Dave, and like being out there. And I'm so glad I got to talk about, I'm like, was so blunt and like, well, what's your relationship with Dave? And I'm like, and how do you guys feel? Like, you know, like, I'm like, what are your ups and downs? You guys have arguments? What do you do when you fight? Like it was just like, we're smoking our joints, by the way, fucking totally 420 friendly. Cece Smith, sorry if the kids didn't know this or anything. Cece Smith was 1000% fucking marijuana friendly, very much an advocate. And also I would say that me and her both agreed that marijuana definitely gave us the like brain chemicals to be able to separate ourselves from something so condensed and know how we felt, like, oh, when we were high, so to speak, how we were able to like finally have our own thoughts. And so like she gave me these sweet little gift. Dave knows what I'm talking about. This sweet gift of she was like, here, honey, this is for you. I've had this forever. And I would have it every time I travel in my RV and and it's in my van right now. And it was a little ashtray. It was like a big 4 ducks, like wooden ashtray, is like old vintage ashtray. And then you move the ashtray and she would hide all of her goodness in there. And then put the things, and then she said,
Exposing
then
all her secret hiding spots. What are you doing?
I'm just saying. And then she showed me some other things. And then but she said, you know what? I just was so happy with this ashtray with the ducks. And she said, I always her friend or somebody used to always say, you know, I got my 4 ducks in a row. That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I got my everything here. All I got is my 4 ducks in a row. And I have that. And so I will fucking keep that 4 ducks in a row ashtray
I love
forever. Just because of the spirit for real of Cece is that way. She's very much like, fine, if this is all I can live with right now, I'm just going to be so happy about this one thing that I treasure so much. And I relate to her so much in that. Like, I can have a zillion things like I do currently in my whole loft and art life, or I could literally be like, if it all burned down, I would just have to be like, fuck, okay, what can I create from nothing?
Right.
Literally.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love her so much.
Totally.
And she would want me to continue to do what the fuck I'm doing and to travel and to rock out with my big ass cock out.
100%.
Okay, Dylan, now you have to follow all that. Go ahead.
She would be crying, laughing right now.
She would be. Yeah.
She's like, okay, Dylan, your turn.
Yeah, Cece was just a very vibrant, loving individual. She cared. You can tell she was genuine when she talked to you. She didn't talk to you to blow smoke up your ass. She talked to you. She questioned you. She was learning. You could tell. It's kind of like when you go on a healing journey or you become a survivor, right? You start to take your trauma back and you take it into your own hands. And that's what I saw in her. And that's when I was down, that's what kind of kept me going a little bit, was like, wow, Cece's here, and I get a random text, or like a lot of us do. Like we fall in and out of touch with each other, but we kind of seem to text each other at the right time or just call at the right time, even
Almost
though
thought you said touch assist. No. Touch assist each other.
Touch each other.
Also, I just want to say I'm wearing this goldenrod scarf. That's a silk goldenrod scarf that Cece got me for my birthday at my show last year, and I literally don't want to cry or snot on it at all. So I've been doing very well. So,
Good job. Good job.
Sorry, Dylan.
Carry on, Dylan.
I just thought you were like, we just do touch assist back and forth. We're fine.
No.
Okay. Okay.
Not what I said. But yeah, I think she kind of personified the idea of, accepting the person, or even maybe condemning the actions and not the person, as much as trying to live in that balance. But also, she was just I felt like a better person knowing her. I felt like, that she was. This is why we are still struggling and going through this, because we can all kind of heal, and to the very end, she was doing that and living her best. She loved where she lived. She loved it, and she lived. When she got that Class C, I helped her get rid of her truck and trailer that she was living in that ended up being a complete nightmare. And I mean, she loved being up in the Palm Desert and being with Dave and Simi, and that was the jam. And she wanted to love her kids more and pour into her grandchildren, and for that, I send love and light to all of the people that are truly going to be without that person in their daily lives. And I think that's where it's like, in the end, it's forgiveness and all that is, hey, if we're doing the best we can and we show we are and we are toning, well, there's got to be some kind of understanding or acceptance there. And I'm not, I respect wholeheartedly and your journey, and your feelings are absolutely 100% valid. And I am no way trying to take anything away from you.
And I feel that.
And I just want to make sure. And with that, what I did right was, when I say I forgive you, what I'm really saying is I know what you did. It's not okay. but I recognize that you are more than that. I do not want to hold us captive to that anymore. I can heal myself and I don't need anything from you. And
Yeah.
that's what I took out of what you said with that conversation is you're just saying like, I don't, it's not okay what you did, but I'm not going to let you have that
Mhm.
power over me. And
Yeah.
that's what I want to acknowledge from what I heard of that. And that's what I support is that
I
survivor
appreciate that.
journey.
And also
It's
that
I think
that he could sorry, it's not about me, but I always just imagine if I'm in Miriam's space or Cece's space, whatever it is. I also think that oh, this is gonna sound so fucked up, but I think that also he couldn't, like, he can only help himself as much as he can help himself. He can only see what he's done wrong as much as he can really see what he's done wrong. And I think in the end, what we're forgiving is that they feel bad. They do feel bad. And what you say, Dylan, when you separate, if you could separate the person from their bad deed, they're having the conversation or they're dealing with it in auditing or whatever the fuck because they feel not good about something they've done. Like, that's the thing. Like, it comes up and it becomes an issue and that's the thing. And sorry, that's all.
Well, it's denial. It's
I
shame. It's
agree.
hard to live in. That's why as being survivors, we have to acknowledge each other. In a
mhm.
perfect world, we would all have panels of therapists and people we could call. I mean, but we don't. We have to
That would
deal
be
with it
amazing.
and
Yeah.
Well,
survive.
some people think
Or
their panel is therapy.
well, not that way. You know, like
I
a
I feel
battery
like
of
as
thought.
well, it's like, here's the thing. It's like you need to, in order to heal or to survive or move forward, you have to like keep your own humanity intact. And that can slip sometimes because you're in pain, right? And so, but it's like, but your own humanity is most important, and I think that is where the forgiveness piece comes in. I think
Right.
where mercy comes in, and that sort of thing, because you have to be able to live with yourself and you have to continue on and lessen your own pain as much as you can. And so yeah, I feel like that's where it comes into play as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well put.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure.
Yeah. You guys can hang out for a minute. I'm gonna wrap us up here, but just one last time. I want to put up the GoFundMe. We're up to $510. The mods have been dropping the link in the chat. This is going to be up. I'm going to extend it as long as we need to. Absolutely. Please donate anything that you can. Claire, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to Dylan, Miriam, Laura, Michael, Serge, and Liz Ferris, who all came on and shared these beautiful stories. And in closing, I just want to say, I want to quote the Beatles from the Abbey Road album and their song, The End. Where it just basically says, and in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. And Cece made a lot of love out here. And I think we should all take a lesson on that and make sure that we're making as much love out there for everyone as we can every single day. Thank you all for tuning in. Please go to the GoFundMe if you can. If you're on the replay crew, thank you for tuning in. I love you, and I will see you all on the flippity dippity.